You're listening to Combat Radio with Ethan Dettenmeyer, right here on LA Talk Radio.
All right, time to start another episode of the train wreck that has become known worldwide as Combat Radio. I would like to welcome my celebrity co-host for the day is Mr. Adrian Paul of Highlander and War of the Worlds fame. How are you, Adrian?
Good morning. How are you?
Very good to have you here. Mark Ryan is doing a convention appearance for his fans in Chicago, and he's not here. But joining us, who should have joined us on time for the last show, May the Force be with you, and is getting here late and just trying to work his way off of double secret probation, is our good friend, director Phil Lernis.
Thank you, Ethan. I've actually been listening to a lot of past episodes of Combat Radio.
Why torture yourself? I hear they're playing it to political prisoners in the Middle East right now.
One of the things that I loved was hearing an introduction one day when you said, "Welcome to Combat Radio," the train wreck known as Combat Radio. Actually,
yeah.
That was brilliant.
We put a lot of work into this show, as everyone now knows. But what makes it work is the fabulous guests. And speaking of which, joining us who was with us, a survivor of PopCon LA.
Yes.
A good friend of ours from True Blood, Knight Rider. I'm kidding. I had to throw Knight Rider out. I mean, Knight Rider. You were a Knight Rider, but True Blood, the series regular on True Blood, Weeds, The Ring,
24.
For Gore Verbinski. Yes, 24.
I have a very famous performance on 2.5 Men.
Really?
Yes.
And what famous for?
Well, it seems to be a favorite amongst men in particular because I have a very low-cut shirt on for most of it.
I wonder why that would be. I have no idea what she's talking about.
We were talking.
I have no idea what she was talking about because I'm too distracted by the dress that she's wearing that zips all the way up the front.
Yes, it does.
Which means I think that it would zip all the way down.
It does
too,
indeed.
Actually. Yeah.
And the story behind that is I just shot a movie of the week for Hallmark with Ed Asner, Allison Sweeney, and Ron Howard's dad, Rance Howard.
Love that guy.
And I played a retirement home facility director, and they gave me this dress with leather down the front and a zip all the way down the front. I'm like, this is an interesting lady.
That's the retirement home I'm going to someday.
Phil pointed out that they were obviously ramping up for a spin-off series where you fight crime as sort of this.
Yes.
Oh, at night. At night, she moonlights.
The Vice Squad. Yeah.
Solving sexy
Basically,
crimes.
you tell the senior citizens, you're in my world now, Grandma. I gotta go out and fight crime.
Grandpa,
Bam.
sit in your chair.
Actually, I'm very happy that explanation's come through because I actually thought she put it on back to front.
Lotus got a dress like that too, and I'm a big fan of it. We were talking as we ramped into the show about Disneyland and how the Chill Pack Hollywood Hour, which Phil Lernis co-hosts, and Combat Radio were on site to do a remote broadcast, which I'll tell you, I actually will, in case you ever have an opportunity to sit in the Lincoln attraction next to Dean Haglund of X-Files fame, move immediately as quick as you can because he will revoice the entire attraction with what he thinks you should hear versus the Americana propaganda.
But I want to hear
that. And no matter how
I
much,
want to hear that.
No matter how much you might enjoy hearing that, you will not enjoy the knowledge that he is ruining several families' vacations while doing so.
Well, I wouldn't like that.
Phil's got a lot.
People come from far away.
They do, and I always try to be courteous in an audience setting. But it's funny because they had the Voices of Liberty start the show, and they were singing Americana songs like "Working on the Railroad." And during "Working on the Railroad," there's like a moment where he goes, "Yeah, tell it to the Chinese," and they're talking about Lincoln's talking about like westward expansion. He's like, "Tell it to the Indians," and they're like, he's singing they started singing a song. He's like, "That's God Save the Queen." See, these British still fucking own us.
Well, he's right there. Sorry about that.
I was gonna say, the Brit in the room will go with that.
It's always dangerous, obviously, to view these attractions, of course, that has been unchanged since 1964. Mm-hmm. To view it through our contemporary perception. That said, I do find it interesting that the animatronic Lincoln is proof that if Mitt Romney were to be elected president, he would not be our first robot president. So that is too soon?
Too soon. I'm good with it. You're allowed to have your political opinion here.
Talk to me about how you broke the Splash Mountain log ride, Ethan Dettenmeyer.
I didn't really.
Oh, he's the one that did that?
We were making
a joke.
He knew
it was breaking down, though, while we were on it.
There were some pictures posted from the remote broadcast. Some of like the new Combat Quencher drink that Napa Rose developed. Some of us on certain attractions trying to break up the broadcast, and one of them was Splash Mountain, and I was determined to really make it a toboggan event. Mm-hmm. And it broke right after we got down the mountain, and
Well, you said, though, that you were feeling in the back of the log, because you've been on that ride many times, and you were feeling a lot more movement than usual.
I was actually quite nervous about it this time, but every time I go on Thunder Mountain since that guy died, I always think, is this the trip? Is this the day where I cash in my chips? And then, of course, I never get out of line.
Well,
I still go for it.
Who died on Thunder Mountain?
Oh, about 10 years ago. We actually have some inside Disney contacts who can tell the story much better than me, but a guy was killed on it.
Okay.
There's different stories as to what happened.
But that's tantamount to people going up in an airplane, really. Like you hear about one airplane crash, but there are tens of thousands a day that go around the world.
This is true.
It's the same thing. There's more probability of you getting killed in a car accident.
And Adrian, that's why I'm comfortable rolling the dice.
I
don't get out of line even. But yeah, we were on it, and it was like I could feel something, in the back, like we were really getting. It was really rough, and I'm thinking, God, I hope this thing is still attached to the.
Oh my God.
Well,
but I'm not going to stop the ride to ask,
And you're absolutely right, though. When you are going down the drop, really the last thing you want to hear is the park voice coming on saying, "We will resume this ride as soon as we have ascertained that it's safe." We're the last people down, and then they shut it off.
I know exactly.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
They were looking at the surveillance cameras and being like, let that
How are they going to
go.
ascertain if it's safe? By whether or not we get out alive?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, there's a cost to everything.
Do you think these guys will make it?
Hey, Adrian, this is our first chance to actually wish you on the air. Congratulations, you're a new dad.
Oh, thank you.
Aw.
So, good work.
Boy or girl?
Boy.
Aw.
3 weeks.
Name?
Royce.
Yeah.
Royce.
You remember?
I remembered it.
You remember.
It was so funny because somebody asked me like 2 days afterwards, and because we've been chosen so many different names,
That was us
I went,
that asked you.
what's his name? I went,
We weren't even going to say anything about you not remembering the name in front
I've just
of us
told a
on
million
the show,
people that
but
they
now
are.
you just
That's
told
good,
them that
yeah.
you couldn't even recall the name of your son. That's what happens when you go to lunch with Adrian Paul. You don't get all the facts. He's got to think about it first. But you just survived Comic-Con, where War of the Worlds is the big news down there.
Yeah, you did pretty good.
You didn't go to PopCon with all of us.
No, I was having a baby. There is that point. I was in the hospital.
I would have missed PopCon for the same reason.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Nah, my family always takes precedence over things like that. But Stephanie was there. You were quite the popular. True Blood being what it is, you're in demand at the. You were next to Bruce Boxleitner of Tron and Billy D. Williams and those guys.
Yeah, I was across the aisle from Billy D.
Yeah. Did you know Billy D, don't you? Have you talked to him?
No, I haven't, but I hear he's a really cool guy.
Oh, he's awesome.
Extremely
he's
polite.
Done the show.
I'm sure
I've got
has.
a great Billy D. Williams story.
Has he done the show?
But Phil is hoping I don't tell it because he hears it every time I'm in the room.
Did you ask Billy D. Williams any questions about what it's like to be Billy D. Williams?
All right, so Billy D. Williams comes in to do the show. And the first question out of my mouth is, first of all, I thank him for getting me hooked on Colt 45 as a kid, which he had an influential part in doing. And I say, right out of the gate exactly what I'm thinking, as I always do in this broadcast. And I say, what's it like being fucking Billy D. Williams? That's got to waking up, and that's so cool that you wake up and you're Billy fucking D. Williams. I'm like, what's that like? And he goes, chuckles, and he goes, well, it's actually really rather wonderful. And I was like, that's a Hall of Fame answer.
Yeah,
but I said, Robbie Krieger, who played our Super Bowl party, he was in here on his last visit, and I said the same thing to him. I'm like, what's it like being fucking Robbie Krieger? Remember the Doors? Being so awesome. He's like, well, somebody's got to do it, man. He had a totally different answer, but it's interesting to see how guests.
Well,
I think that's a good standard question.
And you have to for Billy D. Williams because we all remember his advertisements for Colt 45, but what they still have. Well, yeah, you're too young.
I don't either.
Sorry.
I come from the wrong side of the pond. Yeah, it's okay. Go ahead.
Was he cool? Was he really cool?
He was very cool in it, and part of the ad campaign, and they still have these displays in certain shops in Manhattan. They have these life-size cardboard cutouts of Billy D. Williams, and it will say on it, "This establishment is Billy D. Williams approved."
I love that.
And
I love that.
Oh my goodness, I want that for everything.
That is ringing endorsement.
Exactly. On anything. This show is Billy D. Williams approved. My wardrobe is Billy D. Williams approved.
Billy D. Williams approved. To producer Loda Hadley's credit, she ran all over town when he was here to try and get a Colt 45 can for him to autograph for the office. Aww. And she could not find it because, how's this for racial stereotyping? None of the liquor stores around here in Studio City sell it. They're like, you have to go to certain neighborhoods to get Colt 45.
Wow.
And I was like, the audacity of Cheers Liquor. You got vodka and fucking Tommy gun bottles, but you don't have Colt 45. Shame on you. This will be the last time I buy my Orbit's gum here. So I stormed out and I had to start my boycott.
I would just like to point out, without a doubt, that Stephanie's zipper-up dress would be Billy D. Williams approved. There's no question about that.
I'm surprised
when
he hasn't
I meet him,
commented
I will wear it next time.
He's really good with the kids, though. And actually, it's not, you don't really talk Star Wars with him, but he went in, he had almost like a fan meltdown at one point towards the end of the show where he defended his actions. He just suddenly goes, people forget I stood up to Darth Vader. And he goes, see, here I go. Because I guess his kids, when he dropped his kids off at school, would come running up, and they're like, you sold out Han Solo. So he had kind of like a moment on the show where he immediately went into it was like a Simpsons moment, he's like, people forget I stood up to Darth Vader. And then he goes into this whole thing, and I'm like, yeah, right, because you arranged a nice lunch with him, and you moved in on Han's lady, and he goes, well, Lando did like the ladies. Yes. And he had the cape, and the cape gets it done.
And
I was like, and you said if he wore a cape now, everyone would start wearing capes.
Absolutely.
And you're right. You wear a cape on Highlander, Adrian? Was that part of the wardrobe?
Kilt, probably.
I tried not to.
You tried not to?
I tried not to. No, I had a kind of a cape, which was a long coat, similar.
Yeah.
Long black coat. Man,
there's some good pictures floating around from that show, though. I was looking online for the EPK for today's broadcast. Man, they got some good. You're in demand. That show seems like it's more popular than ever.
It's weird. It's lasted a long time.
You're listening to Combat Radio with Ethan Dettenmeyer, right here on LA Talk Radio.